Babao! G'day guys, welcome to Kicking It with Kenny and Quinn. Today I'm joined by my host. Are we hosts? Or just
We're co-hosts.
mates? We're just
We
say
are mates.
Did you just say co-host
Yeah.
or mate?
I've never called myself a host of anything before.
Me either.
But we're here. We've got to own it, man.
I just say I'm joined with Kenny.
Yep, and Quinn.
Maybe we can change it when we have our first guest.
When we have a guest, we'll actually be hosting them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so for right now,
Yeah,
we're just,
so we're just mates.
we're
at the
just
moment.
mates for now.
Yeah,
Cool, man. Today's a solid episode. I'm keen for this one.
me too.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The episode today is, I guess we decided on $0 and 0 followers starting from scratch. So if you were starting from scratch,
How do I get there?
How do I get there?
How do I turn this into a career? How do I start making money if I've got $0 and 0 followers and I've decided to start today?
yeah,
What would be the blueprint? What would I do, right? And I think back to when I first started, I didn't know anything. And I wish I had someone or I wish there was a podcast out there that explained what you should or could be doing in those first 6 to 12 months to get you to your goals within that time frame.
especially an Australian podcast, not an American, because it's different, I feel.
True.
Yeah,
There are
the
a
accents.
lot of similarities. Yeah, you're going to get one with an Aussie accent. And I'm excited for it because I feel like I would have benefited from this podcast if I had heard it 5 years ago.
Man, yeah, 5 years ago.
That's the goal of this episode.
Yeah, to get someone, I guess it's just to get them out of their comfort zone and start making some cash, taking pictures.
And to
stuff.
give them some ideas to make them aware of what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, because it is a lot of work. I think the misunderstanding that a lot of people, they think it's not much work. They think you just, you take a picture, you press the button, and then you go home, you put it on your computer, and then you send it off, and someone gives you money.
Yep,
I think a lot of people think like that.
that it's that easy.
Yeah,
True. I also just don't think people realize how much variety there is in the different types of work
that you can do.
that you can do, right? And being able to narrow it down because there's so many different types of creative work out there.
Yeah,
You're not going to enjoy all of them, right?
I definitely don't.
And I think it's figuring out, being self-aware and realizing, okay, what do I like about doing this type of work and narrowing it down so that you're doing enjoyable work. Because it's very easy to find yourself in a situation where you're doing creative work, which is what you wanted, but it's not enjoyable or fulfilling.
Yeah.
And you start doubting the whole career choice in the first place when really you just needed to be more self-aware and realize, oh no, I like this aspect of creating and not so much that.
Yeah. Yeah, figuring out what actually gives you purpose or what you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Because, yeah, just like you said, you can do creative work, and I think we've both done it, where you're making good money, but it's not the creative work that you actually want to do, and it doesn't fulfill you, and it's a nightmare, and you're like, maybe I hate photography. Maybe I hate videography.
Yep.
You probably don't. You're just doing the wrong job.
Exactly. And that's what you want to avoid. And what a lot of people just walk into as a trap.
Yeah.
Right?
They say,
Without realizing
I can make that doing a photography. Yeah,
someone
Sign me up.
offered to pay me to do this job. So you just take it because you want to get paid to create.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not always the case. Maybe at the beginning there are times, but not always. So let's start. If I were to come to you, Quinn, and say I'm starting from scratch, what would you say would be the first thing they would need to figure out? And it could be just that.
So I would ask them the question of what are you passionate about in the creative space, or what do you like doing? Because this is where we were talking before, where we differ a little bit.
Yep.
Where I don't think that someone should get into it where if their sole purpose is just to make money, they should be like a photographer or a videographer or whatever. Because to me, and this is just my experience, I think it usually takes between 6 to 12 months to make money. and then maybe like up to 2 years before you could get to a point where you're like self-sufficient and you don't need to take on any other job, sort of thing. Like your sole income is from being a creative.
Yep.
So my first question would be to that person, what do you love about being a photographer, a videographer?
Yep.
And then that would then tell me if I'm going to waste my time with this person, giving them advice, wasting my time,
Yep.
or try and, encourage them to, chase their dream, chase their passion, sort of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, the first question should be, in my opinion, like, is this something that you could see yourself doing for the rest of your life?
Yep.
Yeah.
And figuring out what that thing is. So it's easier for some people than others. Some people know what they want to do immediately, right? Whereas like some people don't, like they just know they want to be in the creative field, but they're not exactly sure what they want to do. And making them realize that there's so many different roads that you can take. And I think figuring that out as quickly as possible. You don't have to you don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but you need to give yourself some direction, right?
When you first started, how many different shoots did you do? Say you did a car shoot, you did a model shoot.
Yep.
You did how quickly did you turn around before you knew what you wanted to focus on?
It took a while. Because at the beginning, my only rule was the very first time someone asked me to do anything in any field, I'm always going to say yes because I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. And once I try it once, I can then decide, because there's a lot of things that you may not even think that you like until you do it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wow, this is actually way more fun than I thought it would be. And then I also took that time to do jobs that I realized I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like a wedding. I did one wedding and I hated it. And I was like, cool, I'm not the wedding guy.
Yeah.
But I was initially open to saying yes to everything, so that I could start narrowing down what I actually want to do. And I think that's a good starting point when you're first starting out.
Yeah, definitely.
Is figuring out what you want to do, because there's huge differences between being a fashion photographer, a food, gym, any type of photographer, or even video work, right? They're vastly different in terms of the process and doing the work. So figuring out what you like makes it a lot easier to start knowing what steps to make from there.
Yeah.
Because once you know, it doesn't have to be super specific, but if you know, okay, I don't want to do this type of work, but this work interests me a lot more, it makes it easier to start knowing what to say yes and what to say no to.
Yeah.
And what opportunities to pursue, because you're like, okay, this job opportunity is going to get me a lot closer to being where I want to be. And this one probably not so much. And it makes it easier to know what to say yes and no to. And you don't fall in that trap where you're so far off from doing or being around the type of people that you want to be. Even though you're still in the creative field, you're going to hate it. And if I was to relate it back to any other industry, imagine we were both PTs. We're in the fitness industry.
Yep.
Imagine wanting to be a bodybuilding coach and you start working in a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to find a single client. And you're going to hate it there because you're not going to get any work because no one wants to work with you. And you're not around people that love that. Even though both of them are gyms and you're still a trainer, you're still in the fitness industry.
Completely different,
yeah. Right? And it's very similar here. And also knowing that some people just like editing and not shooting, right? Some people like shooting and don't like editing so much. There are people that are solely editors, and some people don't know that when they start out. Like, you can just be an editor.
Yeah.
There are people looking for editors, and they'll just give you the footage. Yeah, exactly. You might not be really good at, you might hate directing, and that's a part of the job that you hate. That doesn't mean you have to give up creating altogether. Just call yourself an editor and be a really, really good editor. Or maybe when you're at a shoot, you might realize, I just like styling people.
Yeah.
I just like creating awesome sets, and that's a career path on its own too. And you don't have to do all the other things if you don't enjoy it. Also, being in front of a camera and being behind a camera.
Two different things.
Two completely different things. So realizing I actually like being in front of a camera way more than I like being on the other. And some people hate being in front of the camera. So I would spend that first month, and a lot of the times you won't know until you do it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I feel you would want to do is try and figure out the things that you like the things that you don't like, because just going through all that there makes me feel overwhelmed.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Right.
I think probably a good idea would to be, those 30-day challenges where you post something consistently for 30
Yep.
days. I would do something like that where you try something different in the photography, videography space, something different every day for 30 days,
Yep.
set up a heap of like free shoots, TFPs, whatever. Just ask friends if you can, second shoot for them or hang out or whatever, and just try as much as you can so that you have like a full month of photos, videos, and experiences that you can draw upon and be like, yep, I like this, or man, I hated that. I am never going to do that
Yep.
again, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't always have to be paid work, and when it's free, it takes the pressure off too.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because there's no expectation of having to please a client and have it be accepted. You can try whatever you want and
Yeah.
learn and try different ideas.
Free shoots are the best because you can be as creative as you want. You
Yep.
can try the weirdest shit and no one's going to be like, oh,
Yep.
that's not what we paid for. You didn't pay me.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's the best.
No one can be upset at you.
No, yeah.
And I think another important thing too at the start is knowing whether you want to be freelance and work on your own, or be employed and work full time for a company. Because again, they're two very different things as well.
Very different. I think, yeah, that is tough because you went full freelance, right?
Yeah, no,
Pretty much.
I found work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be freelance
Yep.
full time, but I knew I couldn't do it immediately. So I went and tried to find a job that I could do for at least 3 days a week. And then I knew I was getting consistent money each week.
Yeah. So then
And
you
it took the pressure off.
Yep.
So that on the other 4 days, I could build the freelance side of things.
Yeah. So I did freelance for about, I think it was like a month. So quit my job, did like freelance for about a month, and then after that month joined a company that did weddings and real estate, and that was awesome. But coming full circle now back to like subcontractor type thing. They both have their pros and cons.
Yep.
But in my experience, unless you have, I'd say you'd need like 6 months worth of funds to live on.
Yep.
Or savings or whatever. So probably like
To go full time freelance.
just to like, go all in.
Yep.
Trust yourself, just go all in, max out the credit cards, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Just YOLO it or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd probably say like give yourself like a 6 month buffer, because at the end of the day, the best thing is that like if you choose to go freelance, your worst case scenario is some people's like first choice.
Yep.
So your worst case could be you go get a normal job, like a 9 to 5.
Yep.
And that's your worst case. Like that's do you
It's
know how
not that
awesome
scary.
that is? It's not
that
scary at all.
Yep.
Like you just have to bet on yourself, take a couple of chances, take the risk, and you could be, living the life. When I say living the life, I don't mean like,
Yeah.
millionaire or whatever, but you're like, you get to do what you love
It's
every
a risk
day.
worth taking.
Yeah, exactly. And if it doesn't work out after 6 months, you've got all these skills that you wouldn't have had before, and you can just go work retail or whatever for a bit until you build it back up or do
Yep.
whatever you want. But
I agree. I think another option too is what I found useful is I thought I need consistent money so that I'm not too stressed out and I'm not taking jobs that I don't want to take.
yeah,
Right?
okay.
'Cause
You
when
did
you-
it the
when you-
smart way. I did not. Yeah, I didn't do that.
Because when you're only relying on freelance work and you're starting on, you have to take everything.
Yeah.
And that means sometimes taking jobs you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And especially when you know what you do kind of want to do and that job comes that you know you absolutely don't want to do, you have
You
to
have to
take it.
say yes, yeah.
Right. And I found that taking on a job I didn't want to do more than 3 days. That was my rule. Like no matter how much they asked me to be full time or do more, it's 3 days and strictly 3 days because I know what I want. And what is super helpful is finding a job that helps you in terms of what you did, right? We're working at the camera store.
Yep.
I feel like that's smart because if I wanted to work with a camera and I was at zero, if I spent 3 days and I was getting paid for 3 days to learn everything about cameras,
Yeah.
it's benefiting you in the long term on those other 4 days, right? If you know that there's a company that you want to be a food photographer, and there's a restaurant that just needs someone to do anything in regards to social media. They've got a social media team. I'd work 3 days there because you're around people that are making content about food.
Yep.
So you put yourself in that environment. You're around people. They see how enthusiastic you are. That's going to lead to opportunities. And in those 3 days, you might not be doing the camera work, but you're learning from people who are in that industry. And that gives
100%.
you a lot of skills that you can take out from there, and you're consistently being paid. So I would try and find some entry-level job that gets you in the door and puts you around people that are where you want to be.
Yeah.
Because then you start seeing their habits, how they work, how they shoot, what you want to shoot. Right?
Yeah, that's really good advice. Because the opposite of that is exactly you're freelance and you have to say yes to every job because otherwise you don't get paid. You don't have you don't have sick pay. Like you have to work all the time to pay your bills or just to get enough money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah, if you can find something like that, 3 days a week, and then you have 4 days left to work on your craft or do what you want to do. Like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. And I think at the beginning though, any work is better than no work.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes those jobs that you're not going to love are going to pop up. If anything, you're going to get paid. And when you are starting out, whether you're doing work that you love or work that you don't, you're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. So it's probably a good opportunity to do those jobs you don't like at the beginning, because you can mess up. Like there's no real big expectation, because if you don't have these clients in the long term, they're not really the people you want to be working with anyway. And you can mess up. You can learn from all of those mistakes. So it's not really time wasted, because you can try things and you can learn from all the.
I think that's one of the best things about this job is that even when you're doing like you're on a shoot that you hate or whatever, you can have all these learning experiences that you wouldn't get any other way, and you grow so much more from your failures and the shit jobs than you do from the easy good jobs that you can do like with your eyes closed sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think you also learn more about the process. There are so many times I've caught myself in situations that are really awkward and uncomfortable that I've hated, and you look at it and you realize, okay, I could have done this better.
Yeah.
The next time I could have pre-framed it better. I should have fixed my contract better to avoid situations that I don't want to be in.
And hopefully you do learn from them and you get better.
Yes.
And you don't keep repeating the same mistakes all the time.
Yes. True.
Which can also happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. Cool. And I think from that, once you have a fair idea, I don't think you need one. A lot of people say you need a niche. You need to be the wedding photographer or the car photographer. I don't really think that's the case, but I could be wrong here. I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah. It's very subjective.
I feel like I have many interests. And I know what I like and I know the things that I don't like. And I'm not picking just one. There are days I want to shoot fitness content. There are days I want to shoot vlogs. I love shooting podcasts.
Yeah.
So like there's a range of things that I like, and I don't want to be boxed in and do just one. Because I've seen people creatively who who work one job and do one thing. And when you're doing that every single day, it could drain all the creativity out of you, because like there's only so many ways you can shoot one product or one thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to work outside of that to keep your creativity, keep that spark alive. So I like doing different things every day.
I think that's a difference between, say, niching down would be where the real money would be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So say you do want to, and again, like weddings and real estate is sort of the thing that I do. So like, that's all my experience. So that's all I can talk on. But say you do want to be a really good real estate photographer or videographer or whatever, and that's your sole focus. If you just put all your effort and energy into that, that's where you can start to make really, really good money.
Yeah.
Same as weddings as well. But yes,
You're right.
There will come a point where that's all you're doing every day and you will burn out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of like if, it will happen. It could be like, a year, it could be 5 years or whatever, but you'll need to take like a big break. So having like varied interests, especially in like photography and videography, is pretty important.
Yeah,
'Cause
or,
it just
or
helps
I think finding the time to do
other
things.
shoots.
So
Yeah.
say you are the wedding guy and you're shooting weddings every weekend. During the week, I would probably suggest shooting something completely different,
Yeah.
right? To avoid burnout and always feeling like you're constantly shooting
definitely.
the same thing. But you're right, being that guy that's specific to the one thing, I'm sure you could charge way more by taking on that approach.
Yeah.
Because imagine how many, wedding photographers there are. There's probably heaps. And say you and I are both wedding photographers, but I also shoot many other things. If someone's choosing between you and I, you're the wedding guy. You're specifically the wedding guy. And I would come across as the guy that shoots weddings every now and then. So if I wanted a really good wedding, I would choose you over me, because from the outside looking in, I'd be like, Quinn's the wedding guy. That's all he does. So I feel like you'd get more work that way, because you'd be identified as the wedding dude.
Yeah. I guess it's like how you market yourself.
Yep.
You could I can't remember who it is. There's this one photographer. He's like a huge travel influencer guy, and throughout his early career, he hid the fact that he was like a wedding photographer. So he would shoot these weddings. I think he charged like $3,000 or whatever per wedding, and he'd shoot like a few every couple of months, and then he would go and travel off the weddings and post nothing on his social media about being a wedding photographer.
Wow.
And everyone just thought, oh, he gets paid to travel and stuff. But really, his side hustle was weddings, and what he really wanted to be was like a Nat Geo photographer or whatever. So he would just travel with the money he made off weddings, and that's how he did it. So you can sort of do it that way.
Yep.
Be a bit sneaky, but
but that's awesome, because you get the work that you post. Like you get identified as the person of whatever it is you're posting. And I think that's a really good point too. When you're starting out and you're just doing free shoots and you're trying everything, well, this is what I did. If you start posting that stuff, you're going to get work based on what you post.
inquiries.
Yeah, so if you thought it'd be cool to shoot your mate's car, just know that people are going to start assuming that you're the car guy.
Yep.
If you do that, and if that's something you don't want to do.
That's why you stopped posting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you were like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
But all I'm getting are inquiries about this specific thing.
Yeah, it was fitness.
How you deleted like
Heaps
off. Yeah.
And that was the thing, because I was a PT. When I became a photographer, all my mates were PTs.
Yeah.
They all worked in the fitness industry. So when I wanted to ask my mates to shoot, all they wanted to do was shoot in the gym.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get better. So I took all those opportunities and I just started posting them because I wanted to share my work. And there was a time where there was another photographer posted my page on their stories and said, go follow Kenny, the fitness photographer. And that's when it hit me.
Yeah.
I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be in gyms. I've spent 15 years in gyms. Like, I want to get out of there and shoot everything else.
Yeah.
And I realized, man, if you go on my page, I look like the fitness photographer because that's all I've got on there. And I realized that that's something I didn't want to do. So I just deleted all of them. And it made me realize that you can then become whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Online. So you can show up online as the person that you want to get paid for. So whether you're not getting paid for it yet, I would start, if you want to be the travel guy, start making travel content, even if it's free and it's on your own, and posting it, because over time you will start being identified as the travel photographer, the travel creative.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's important. So step one, I would identify what are the things you want to get paid for. And then step two, start building a portfolio that starts showing that type of work and letting people know that that's the type of work that you do, and possibly avoiding the work that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to post everything.
Yes. That's also a smart move too. Just because you shot it, and removing tags too can be a big helpful thing too.
Removing tags.
Like, so say that you shot this concert or whatever, and the artists are tagging you, but you don't really want to be the music scene photographer, or you did that as a favor or whatever. Just say, hey, look, thank you so much. Love that. Like, people should tag their photographers regardless. But I mean no disrespect, but I'm just going to remove my tag from this because I don't really want any work like this. I just doing it as a favor or whatever, and it does help.
Which is fine. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If you explain it that way, it comes across as...
Instead of just like untagging yourself and then ghosting the...
Yeah, exactly. Which is uncalled for.
Yeah.
And also, I just think people don't share their work enough sometimes. So have your work somewhere.
Yeah.
I think your profile grid, your Instagram seems to be the go-to for most people. Like if someone refers a photographer or a videographer to you, I think 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to that person's page and see what their work looks like. Or if not there, a portfolio, a website, you need somewhere where your best work is. Like you've got to put it somewhere. And I realized this when I started looking for someone to work for me, right? I was like, man, I want to hire someone. I put out a message. I started getting DMs and I'd go to their page and I'd be like,
This is just them.
Where's the work, man?
This is just selfies.
I need to see the work. It was just selfies and dog pics. And I'm like, where's the work? And they're like, oh, if you scroll down, there's a video there.
From 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I need to see the work. Like you're missing out on opportunities by not having your work somewhere. And you need to realize that if you are looking for work, people are going to go to your page or your website if you have one. So if you don't want to share it on your profile page, create a separate page or a website somewhere where you can direct people to see your work. Because if it's nowhere to be seen, you're not going to get work, man. You have to share it.
Yeah. And that's creating a reel, like especially as a videographer.
A show reel, yeah.
Show reel. Just putting it up on YouTube.
Yep.
You don't have to post anything else, but at least you can then direct people. Like if you have no website or if you don't even have like much on social media, at least you have a show reel so you can be like, here's the link.
Yep.
That helps a lot too. But I think the one thing that would, say if you are just starting out, the one thing that would separate you from the rest is having a website, because it does make you look more professional, especially if you're trying to do like models and stuff and like going into the modeling industry. Having a website, most modeling agencies won't even look at you if you just show them your Instagram or link Instagram or whatever. You'll need like a proper website, and it does make you look more professional too.
Yep.
But I guess that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get in the mindset of just starting out. But
cool. I feel like going back to what you were saying in terms of just doing free work.
Yeah.
When I began, my pitch was always try and do as much free work as possible because that gave me the opportunity to try new things and figure out what I want to do. Once I figured out what I did want to do, I continued doing free work but narrowed it down to the work that I want to be getting paid for.
Yeah.
And from there, my goal was trying to get retainers, like trying to work with these people consistently. So it was always like, let me do some free work for you. If you like it, it doesn't have to be all serious. Some people get very scared of sounding too salesy or pitching. But as casually as you can make it, it's like, hey man, did you like that work? How about we start doing this on a more consistent basis? And then having some sort of offer that you can pitch to people or businesses so that you can get ongoing work off of the back of the free work. And then because you need to it's the same as the working 3 days a week for another business. When you're working freelance, I think it's important to be making sure you get consistent money and you're not constantly stressed and not knowing where that next job's coming from.
Yeah.
You need to get your retainers because 2 or 3 retainers that are paying you weekly, fortnightly, monthly takes away a lot of stress and allows you to not have to take jobs that you don't want to do. Because you're like, I know these 3 guys are going to pay me every week. And being specific with those guys. If you find 3 people that you love working with, you want to try hard to keep them and to find work continuously with them.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a time where you would stop taking free work?
Yeah, when you don't have the time, like when you're constantly getting paid for work and you don't have the time. Definitely. But if you're looking for work, if you're trying to get work, I feel like it's the best way to do it. Again, I relate everything back to the gym because that was my life for so long. Think of any gym. They give you a free pass. You get to try the gym for free.
They give you that taste.
Yeah.
And then you get hooked.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a drug dealer.
It's exactly what we should be doing,
Yeah.
right? Like you'd like try it. A lot of people don't know how it is to work with you. What's it like? What's the experience like? What's the process like? They could work with you and be like, damn, that was actually really cool. That was so much cooler and more fun. And what I got out of it is way more than I thought I would. They wouldn't have never known that if you didn't do that free work for them. Same as a gym, you only see it from the outside. You only see it on social media. You go in, you experience it. All the people there are friendly. All the equipment's clean, and you're like, "Hey, man, I can picture myself in here."
Yeah.
Right? You have this awesome experience, and then on your way out, you're curious. You're like, "How do I become part of this community?" It's the same as what we should be doing. The free work, and if it leads to no work, right, no paid work, you got the opportunity to build on your portfolio, right,
Yeah.
and try something new. So it's never a loss. And then if it does all work well, I would always be trying to get that person as a client and figuring
definitely.
out a way to keep them on board. I was always like retainers. Try and get as many as you can because I don't know. Again, this is another thing that might be based on who you ask.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of photographers and videographers that are always talking about, that one big job that they had, that one big event, and they'll start telling you about how X event made them $3,000 and
Or the guys that try to sell you the course because they made that one 20K.
exactly
or
right,
100K.
and they feel like they're a hotshot because they made $8,000 on a job, right? If you're relying on these big events and these big jobs that pay $4 or $5,000, they're probably not coming at you all the time, right? Once you do that job once, you've then got to start looking for the next one, and you don't know where that next one's going to come, right?
Yep.
And I always feel like if you look at the lifetime span of a client, that client would have given you, say you did a job for $5,000. That one client in their lifetime gave you $5,000. If I charge my client, let's say $700, but they pay weekly and I keep them for a year, in the course of a year, I would have made way more than your one
Just that
client.
one, yeah.
Right. So now, I know that one client may give me $10,000 to $15,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Over the course of their
Over the
lifespan
course-
with you. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can start working your way. You can start calculating how many you need in order to reach a financial goal. So say to be stress-free and be committed full-time to freelance work, you need to make somewhere between $60,000 and $80,000 initially. You then know, okay, I need 6 to 7 retainer clients because I know each of them is going to pay me 10 to 15,000. I get 5 of those, I'm at 60, 70 grand.
Yeah.
Cool. And then now you can narrow down your goal, and these big goals, these big full-time goals now seem achievable. It's
Yeah.
like, I only need 5 guys.
Smart,
Yeah.
small, achievable goals. Yeah, it helps out. That's the thing too, though. You should with those. Something that I did notice, just going back to the free shoots. Some people, and for whatever reason, this especially pertained to makeup artists when they were just starting out. But some TFP shoots and some free shoots. You should always treat it like it is a paid shoot. You should always turn up on time. You should always give it your best, because then your portfolio is going to look better. You'll get a better reputation, that sort of thing. But sometimes I don't know why, but makeup artists would turn up late, and then it just sets everything later and later. Other photographers or videographers would turn up late, and it's even though it's a free shoot and you're not getting paid, we're all on our own time. We're all giving our time here, which is, in my opinion, more important. But yeah, you should always try and, when you're doing those free shoots, it's like they're paying you $1 million. You turn up and you do the best job you've ever done, and that way you get the best results. But yeah,
and people will remember you.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you get that good reputation, and word of mouth is so much better than any other promotional marketing you can do. Word of mouth is king, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I listen to a lot of Alex Hormozy.
Yeah.
And there was one piece of advice that stuck with me the most, and I think it relates especially to people who are just starting out. When you don't have the skills or the experience, you're not too familiar with how to use a camera the best way yet. He said, initially, effort is the universal currency of respect. If you want people to respect you, just show effort. People want to be around good energy and people that are enthusiastic and show that they really want to be there. And people will keep you around, and I've experienced this too, when you may not have the skill or the talent yet, but they see how hard you're trying and how much effort you're putting in, and they just want you around.
Yeah.
Right? So if you just work harder than the other guys, even though they may be more skilled than you, you're going to get opportunities because people will want that energy around their team, or they'll remember you.
Yeah.
Like people will remember that energy that you left on set. And think about, man, Quinn, working with Quinn, he was a cool guy. Let's get him back in again.
I am. And yeah,
You are.
It is.
I think it's important. And because when people
is so
aren't getting
important.
paid,
Yeah.
like exactly what you said, like they don't put in the effort because they're like, oh, I'm not getting paid for this.
Well, yeah, that's where that exposure thing comes from. Working for exposure to a certain point, it can help so much. And mainly, it does come from referrals and from like that good energy, good word of mouth. Yeah, man, I think if your name and your brand is so important, especially in this industry, because once it's tarnished, it's like Sydney especially, it's massive, but it's so small. Like it's really tiny. Lots of people know everyone in all different industries.
Yep.
So if like you get one bad review or whatever here, someone talks about, oh no, and then you get passed over for jobs. So it's really important that you always like professional, respect for all that sort of stuff, and word of mouth. It's really important.
And networking. Some people are really good at this. They know how to network and keep contacts and be in touch with the right people because you never know where it's going to lead.
That's like a really important skill that I don't think a lot of people understand how important it is, especially in this business. Because I've seen so many, how do I word this? So many amazing creative people with like not a big following, and just miss out on jobs for other people that have a huge following or just know how to network and market themselves better, and they get more opportunities even though their skills might not be to the same level or their end result might not be to the same level. So huge skill which I think is lacking with a lot of creatives. Probably because a lot of creatives are introverts and don't really like putting themselves out. So
but it does benefit you to reach out. A lot of people don't reach out enough either. Like if there's other people that you want to connect with or learn from, don't be scared to just
ask.
Ask or send a DM and tell them that you appreciate your work. Like it could lead, like getting into the DMs leads to so many good opportunities.
Slide in.
Yeah. Work opportunities, networking opportunities. Don't be scared to do it. It's like nothing bad ever happens from it. They either just ignore you or they appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
what's
it
the
leads
worst
to
that could happen?
opportunities.
You get cancelled. And then you just start again.
Depends on your approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And also just I'll tell you something that I learned too, or that I observed. This is an observation that I've had, is whenever there's someone that's really, really, really good that I look up to, if ever in their content they're with another creative, I would assume that he or she is also good at what they do, just by being with that person.
Really?
And I know, man, for sure.
Okay.
So like when I first started, I was watching a lot of Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
All his YouTube videos,
Him and
every
Maddie.
single one.
Yeah.
If he put anyone in his videos, I automatically assume they must be good too because they're hanging out with Pete,
Yeah.
right? So then I took that approach too. If I start hanging out with guys that are better than me, people are going to think I'm just as good as them, even though I'm just starting out.
And then you will get better.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. You're gonna learn from them.
Yeah.
And again, it is bringing good energy, showing effort, showing respect for what their work, and wanting to learn from them. Like people respect you approaching them and saying that you want to learn from them. You love their craft. You love what they do. You want to learn from them. There's so much opportunity around.
Yeah.
By just doing that, and that person may be saying, "Hey, man, like no one's ever said that to me before. Come hang out. Let's
that's
shoot
true.
together." And then with you showing that you're hanging out with this person, being around them, I mean, they don't have to be famous or anything. Like just people that are professionals and are in the spot that you want to be in or see yourself
Where
being
you
in.
want to be, yeah.
If you're around those guys, people are going to assume you're just as good as them.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but some. And that will, again, create opportunities. Again, it's just knowing what you want or where you want to be and taking steps that lead you in that direction.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one thing that's going to get you there, but having some direction.
Tenacity.
And then knowing what opportunities to take and what not to take,
Yeah.
right, will put you in that environment. And then they're the people that get lucky, right?
Well, what's that quote? It's not luck, it's perseverance. Or it's like people aren't lucky, it's just they're determined and they've put in the effort to get, and it creates opportunity or something like that.
Yep. No, but you're right. But I think there's some luck involved, but more luck will come if you know where you're going. It's like the bodybuilder in the CrossFit gym. If that bodybuilder is in the CrossFit gym, he's probably not going to get too lucky, right? But if he puts himself in the right environment, he's more likely to get lucky and come across that client that will pay him what he wants and give him the work he wants.
That's true.
Because he's put himself in an environment.
Yeah.
He started taking the steps in the direction that he knows he wants to be in. He doesn't know whether he's going there yet, but he's put himself around people that give him the best chance of getting lucky. Whereas if he ends up in some random gym or in a spin class,
Yeah.
he's probably not going to get too lucky.
What do you think are some of the signs that you're in the wrong environment as a creative?
Feeling fulfilled,
Yeah.
getting the right, being around people that make you feel like your work's appreciated.
Yeah, that's the
think-
right environment.
I think so. Yeah,
What's the wrong environment? Like, how long do you think it takes before you realize, oh shit, I'm in the wrong place. Like, I'm not with the right people. Is it instantaneous? Do you think it
no,
takes?
I don't think it's instantaneous. Because you try. Well, for me anyway, it depends on the person. Some people are real good at just getting out of there.
Yeah,
I
saying no.
Yeah, I struggle with that immensely. So I'll sit there for and I think the people that do really, really well can figure those things out quickly and make
Yeah.
those changes quickly and redirect. Some people stay in situations that they're not happy in for way too long, and I think that's wasted time. Because once you know, then you know. There are times where you're like, okay, I'm not happy here.
Does that sort of comes back to like saying yes to anything in the early days, and then all of a sudden you're 2 years in and you are making good money, but you're still saying yes to everything.
Yep.
How do you get out of that pattern? How do you stop doing that? Because for some people, and I still see it with a few of my mates, they still say yes to everything, and they're drained.
Yeah, it's very difficult because it's easy. It's so easy to talk yourself into any job. There's always benefits, and you're like, oh yeah, but it's going to pay me this, and I'm going to learn from this, and it may lead to. There's so many opportunities that I've gotten now that have come from doing jobs that I didn't want to do in the past.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to talk myself into doing a job I don't want to do because I can easily be like, well, I may not like any of this, but there is the possibility that they may know someone who can get me work where I want to get work.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you never know who you're working with and who they might know. So
That's true, yeah.
Which is, I think this is bad advice because
okay, yeah.
because you end up doing all this work that you don't want to do. So for me, I could easily talk myself into doing jobs I don't want to do because of that. You just don't know who you're going to work with.
Yeah.
And you don't know who they know. They may post what you made for them, and someone else may see it who gives you an opportunity of a lifetime. Like that is possible. But it does put you in situations you don't want to be in sometimes, and I don't think that's great advice.
Yeah, take everything we say with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Easy.
Yeah, but it is the practice of just being self-aware, knowing what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, and then making moves to put you where you want to be. And that's constant. Like you could enjoy something today and in 6 months' time.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it.
Right? Especially if you're doing it every single day. Like something could be really cool, but once you've shot it 1,000 times, you just get over it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Especially because there's so many different ways that you could approach this, which is why I don't love the niche thing. If I'm doing 5 different things, I feel like that keeps me creatively excited. But that's just me, you know, and it's knowing yourself and knowing if you know you love this one thing and you can't see yourself doing anything else, I'd say go for it. But identifying that initially is so important.
Oh, yeah. Saves heaps of time too.
Mm-hmm. And then I think something that's also important if you're going to work freelance especially is knowing what you offer and your prices, like having your packages set and knowing these are my rates, these are my prices, this is what I want. I want to work with you X amount of times, or this is my one-off rate. It's really important to have a pitch ready when someone approaches you with work. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with at the beginning. They don't know what to charge.
What their value is.
They don't know what their value is. They don't know if they're undercharging or overcharging.
I think a lot of creatives as well, especially starting out in the beginning, they and actually probably a few years in suffer from imposter syndrome. So they will devalue their work because this is such an awesome job that we get to do. We get to create things and, use our imagination and everything. I think some people devalue their work and don't know how to ask the right price for the services that they offer. I think they undercharge a lot.
Yep.
What do you think is one way to overcome that, to start believing in the work that you do?
You got to believe it. Or I feel like you also need to know who you're talking to, like who your clients are, because charging a big fashion business, if they ask you for work, they've got big budgets and they're going to be able to pay you a lot more. Whereas if you're talking to, the cafe down the corner that's run by, an older couple, their budget and their rate, they're probably not going to pay you anywhere near as much as that fashion brand. So you're not going to charge the same to those people. So understanding your client, I think, is very important.
Yeah, definitely.
When coming up with prices.
And their budget,
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with how good or bad you are as a creative.
Yeah.
Right? So some people feel like their work's not good enough, or they're not, like they're charging a certain amount. The people they're talking to can't afford that rate. Right, and
they're getting upset.
They're getting upset, right? Yeah. And it's like, understand that the people you're targeting can't pay that, and that's not a reflection on your work. That's just outside of their budget.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, how do I start finding the people who can pay me what I think I'm worth? So identifying your client and
it's
knowing
very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that, I think it's also speaking their language and pitching ideas to clients in a way that makes sense to them. Because a lot of people still don't realize, especially in what I do, we make content for businesses, right? And some of them don't realize the power of content, or they don't see how important it is.
Yeah.
And initially, it's trying to educate them and make them understand that they can make money, like lots of money, if this is executed and done the right way.
Yeah.
And they don't know that unless you explain it to them. And even with rates, so for me, in the same way that I spoke about, like lifetime value of a client before, when you go to a business and you start speaking their language, a lot of businesses will know what their lifetime value of a client is. And this is the best way for me to justify my rates to a business. If you go in there, initially they're seeing you as just a photographer. If you come in and start speaking their language, you've now got their respect. So going in and being like, hey man, do you know your lifetime value of each customer? And let's say you went to a gym and they do PT, they're looking for clients to train. For example, you may train a client, they may train with you twice a week. What were your rates when you were a PT? Let's do that.
I think the highest I ever went was like $80 an hour.
Yep.
And then
how often would they train with you per week?
3 times a week.
3 times a week. And how long would that client stay with you before they left on average? How long would you train that person?
That type of client was probably only 12 weeks.
Cool.
So 12-week challenges, yeah.
Yeah, so they'd last you 12 weeks. So you would get, if you got one client, they pay you $80 3 times, so that's $240, $240, and they'd stay with you for 12 weeks. What would that be?
Quick maths. 21.
$2,100.
Yeah, let's say that.
Let's say that?
Yeah.
Cool, $2,100. So, Quinn, you're not making any content right now, man. If I made you a video, it'll cost you $1,000, right? We're gonna post that on social media. If I can get you one client from that video, you've doubled your money. You've gotten your money plus another $1,000, and that's if you get just one client. Once you start speaking that way, it starts making sense to them, because if you were to just come in and be like, hey man, it's $1,000 for a video, like take it or leave it, that's my rate. And you're not explaining it to them, you're not making them see the bigger picture. Like, this can make you money, and if we execute this the right way, this package that's worth $1,000, all it needs to do is get you one client, you're going to double your money, right? And that's
how can they say no to that?
Exactly, right?
Are there any books or podcasts or like people that you would recommend, say, up and coming creatives listen to or follow or watch, so that they can understand, like, have the difference between talking to a regular person and then talking to a corporate person who, like a funds manager or something, like someone who actually has all the money, and you need to talk like this to get the job, as opposed to what you just said, like, hey, these are my rates, take it or leave it, sort of thing.
I listen to a lot of people. I think the guy who's the most relatable in terms of the creative space is Chris Do.
He's
the Asian dude with the glasses. He
Yep.
always wears the hat
Yep.
with the tape on top.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that can teach you about business and sales and how to speak to people, but because he comes from the creative world, he used to be a designer.
He can speak both sides.
Exactly. He makes it way more relatable, and he teaches creatives how to interact with the business side of things, which I think is really important, because when you can start speaking their language, you then become part of the process. Something that's really hard, and especially when you work with brands and bigger brands, they will, and this happens a lot, right, which kind of kills creativity in one way when you work with big brands, is they have a marketing team, a creative team, and they together, excluding you, will create the whole pitch deck.
Yeah.
They'll all the references, they'll create mood boards, and they'll know exactly what you want. And then they will call a videographer and be like, hey, we want this.
Yeah.
And as a creative, you can look at it and be like,
oh, that's shit. I don't shoot that.
yeah, exactly. I've had no creative input in this. And it's because they think that you don't understand this side of the business. We need to do this, and then we're going to call you in and tell you exactly what to do. And when you can walk in with confidence and start speaking their language and understanding that process, you then become more welcome. You've got a seat at that table.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you
and
get more input.
way more input, way more creative input. And that work starts being way more fulfilling rather than being excluded from that whole process, which kind of doesn't make sense because you're the creative one and you should have some say.
Yeah,
but
some
a lot of
input.
the time you don't. You're just getting called and you're just getting told, we want this, 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 and this. This is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
We just need you to shoot it. And maybe some people like that, but most people, we get in this because we want some creative input.
Yeah. We need an outlet.
Yeah, and a lot of the times you get those opportunities and you get a seat at the table by being able to speak the same way that these guys speak, letting them understand that you know what the goal is, what you're trying to achieve by creating these campaigns. And I think it's important. A lot of that doesn't have nothing to do with editing and taking photos, but understanding the business side of things will help you get more clients because you know what they're trying to achieve. There's an ROI in what they're trying to do. When I first started out, I'm just charging all these rates, I'm just making them up and I'm just giving them a video. I'm not telling them what to do with it, how to use it the best way, whether it's going to get them clients or not. It's just a cool video that's going to get them a few extra likes. And that's another thing. You don't want to make a video for someone that doesn't make them any money because then they're not going to want you back.
Yeah.
Right? If you get them a video, it gets them a couple extra likes and a few comments. Likes and comments don't make you money. And if you're trying to pitch to businesses, they're trying to make money. They're like, if they have an expense, if they pay you $1,000,
they want to see
make
that return.
they make nothing of it. They're not going to call you back. So it's detrimental to you to make a video for someone and just leave it in their hands if they don't know what to do with it, or if there's no strategy into creating it. They just want to make a cool video, but they don't know why they're doing it or how to do it. You've got to come in with input and being like, hey man, how is this going to make you any money?
Yeah.
It doesn't showcase the product in any way. There's no offer. Like someone's going to watch your video. It's going to be a cool video, but you haven't told them what to do next. You haven't given them a reason to buy anything off you. You just want a cool video just to boost your ego to get a few likes and comments, but you've just blown away $1,000.
Is there some type of moral question there where it's like there are some photographers who just do that? They don't care about the brand necessarily. They just go in, shoot, get their money, and then they don't really care if they ever see that again.
And you can do that, but they're the guys that are going to struggle, right?
They don't have the longevity in the career.
Yep.
They're not going to last very long.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. You need to. You're solving a problem. Like when a business ask you to come in, they've got a problem. Like they don't know how to make content. They're struggling or they want to make better content. You've got to solve that problem. And the whole reason people make content is to become more aware. They want brand aware. They want attention. People to know that they exist.
Eyes on their product, yeah.
Exactly. And if you're not bringing eyes to their product, not just eyes to their product, eyes on their product, and then taking the next step and being more involved, buying their product. And if you don't approach it that way, you're going to struggle because the business isn't going to get what they want out of you. And
then they're not going to hire you again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're going to have all these cool videos, but nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And that's a better testimonial than I think, than just having a cool portfolio. If you can go around and say, I made this business.
Go from here to here.
Exactly.
I'm still working with them.
Still working with them. I've been
Yeah.
working with them for 12 months. They love my work. They've gone from here to here. Their following's gone from here to here. That's a way better testimonial and something that's tangible that you can then pitch to other people rather than just saying, go to my page, I've got heaps of cool videos.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking for freelance work. Like, it's really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to prove your worth.
But yeah, man, I think that would be my approach. And
That was a lot of information to throw at a beginner.
yeah.
Who
But I think
probably,
it's all important.
That's true. I think
And I think there's a lot of what we spoke about today that most people don't think about when they're starting out. And especially me, I realized a lot of these things after the fact,
Yeah.
all while going through it. And I figured them out through making mistakes, trying things. And I wish when I first started out, there was someone who gave me this advice and I would have done things differently and probably gotten to where I am a lot sooner.
so with taking all that information to mind, just starting out, where do you think a new creative person, where should they put all the money that they're making? Where, like, should it be in skills? Should it be investing in gear? Where do you think? So say you could go back.
Yep.
What would you do differently with how you bought gear, or if you promoted yourself on socials or whatever,
Yeah.
paid for ads, that sort of thing? Where would
Yeah.
your money actually go?
Yeah, true. Initially, I've and I still do blow a lot of money on gear that I don't use enough, and I think we're all
guilty of that. Gas gear acquisition syndrome.
yeah, exactly.
It's messed up.
I'm bad, and I have to stop and think, how often am I going to use this? So many things I've bought, used once, less than a handful of times, and never used them again.
And then it just sits there.
Exactly, and that money could have been spent better elsewhere.
Yeah.
Initially, I think any kind of budget camera, there's so much you could do with a phone. And again, it's knowing what you want to do. There are people making a living shooting off of their phone
Yeah.
as just content creators. Like
Yeah.
knowing that there's businesses out there who just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Like, they're busy running a business and they know they should be posting content, even if it's with a phone, but they genuinely don't have the time. And if you pitch to people that that's what you do, you can start off with your phone.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So I don't think that you need a camera, essentially, but the gear does help once you start being able to afford it.
Yeah.
If it's within budget, I would go for the first budget camera that I can get and then worry about the rest later on. I think using your phone if you need to, or I got a secondhand A6400. Try and get secondhand, because a lot of these cameras, even lenses, they're great. They're great secondhand. They get refurbished and they're just as good as new. You don't need the latest, greatest camera.
Definitely not.
They've come a long way, but you could easily... The A6400 that I had, I used for 3 years and I upgraded, but looking back, within those 3 years, not a single person ever that I worked for ever complained about quality.
I don't think people can tell.
No.
Whether it's these days, I don't think many people can tell what picture, like what camera took this image.
Yep.
If it was a phone, if it was medium format, full frame, APS-C, whatever. Not many people can tell, so it doesn't really matter. As long as the work is good,
Yep.
and it will speak for itself. No one really goes, how many megapixels is your sensor? And like, that looks flat, or, blah, 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 whatever. I think the money is, in the beginning, I think the money is better spent on skills.
Yep.
Whether that be doing courses, editing, photography courses, whatever. Like, say you have a favorite photographer that you like, and he's offering a course. Depending on what's involved, I think they can be beneficial if you like those courses. Sometimes they can be a little bit of a rort,
Yep.
and a waste of money. But for the most part, I think the first year of your photography career should be like upskilling, always upskilling.
Yeah.
So doing free work, getting better at your craft, trying to do a course. Say if you do want to do like real estate, do a real estate course, that sort of thing. Like, get better.
I think your money's better off spent elsewhere.
Where would you spend it?
Getting people to know that you exist.
So promoting yourself, like marketing.
Yep, immediately. I think that you can make money straight off the bat with just your phone
Yeah.
and learning how to tell a good story, which costs no money.
Okay. Again.
And again, the fact of just offering, hey man, if I knocked on every business's door, just put out an offer
Yep.
and said, you need to start making content, but you don't have the time. Let me do that for you. I'll do all the posting for you. I'll come in once a week and just shoot everything with my phone. I'll follow you guys around.
Yep.
I think you could get work just off that without a fancy camera, without upskilling. You can do that off the bat. And then as you go, so like my first...
I
all of my
agree with
money
you that
would
you-
be like, I need to let everyone know
Yep.
that I am available.
Yep.
I am free and
Yep.
I want to work for you.
Okay.
And I'd spend most of my budget
Yep.
on that. Getting
Okay.
people to know that I exist and I want to do work for you. I've got a phone. I'm super enthusiastic. I've got time. I'll post. I'll post my heart out for you. And I think off that, you can get so much work. And then off the back of that, I'll then start buying gear and investing in courses and improving as I go.
I agree to a point.
Yep.
I think more expensive gear has diminishing returns, obviously.
Yep.
But there will come a point where you will lose out on jobs because you don't have the gear.
Yep.
So that's a tough thing, because one of the weirdest things is that if you don't know about cameras, you don't know. You see a big camera and you're like, oh shit, that must be expensive.
It's
or
intimidating.
you see someone with a phone and you're like, oh, I have one of them. I can do
True.
that.
Yep.
So one of the best things that you can actually do is, if you do have a camera or whatever and you want to start doing, say, like corporate work, you don't need to, but you can start charge
Yes.
charge more for it.
Correct.
Is if you build your camera out and build a rig around it. So
Yep.
like, just get all the small rig gear, or, just build it up so it looks massive, big tripod, all that stuff. And then eventually you'll be able to start chucking on like an extra 200, 250 on each
Yep.
thing, whatever.
Good advice.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. If someone shows up with a phone,
Well, like, yeah,
and another
it's
guy
tough.
shows up and they're fully kitted out,
Yeah.
they've come with lights.
You're obviously going to
monitors.
go for that one because you think
Yeah.
that's the perceived value, the added value. It's
Yep.
like,
And
oh,
you're-
this guy must know what he's doing because
Yep.
he has all the gear. When a lot of the times it's the opposite.
Yes.
Someone like who's been doing it for a while can take a phone and make something that looks amazing, versus if you just swapped around and gave some noob this huge big camera rig,
Yep.
they'd be like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, and it would look shit.
True. But you can charge more because you can create
Yeah.
you can create an awesome experience.
Yeah.
If you come in with an
It makes
awesome
people feel
camera,
special too,
Of course.
because they're like, oh, wow, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, also speaking about that, this place is we can rent this out, can't we?
We can.
This is an
Anyone
amazing
can.
space.
Yep.
Yeah, anyone can come here.
Yep. This is our space. We're recording podcasts not just for ourselves but for other people. The space is for rent. And
Where's it located, Kenny? We should do an ad right now.
right now?
Right now.
Why not? Let's
Why
do
not?
it. Titan Fitness, the best gym in Australia.
In Australia?
Yeah.
Damn, that's amazing.
Located in Coogee, on Coogee Beach, the heart of Coogee Beach. If we walked out this door,
It's like a
we
2-minute walk.
We could be at the gym in what do you say, 80 steps from the beach, from
Definitely.
from
We're
water.
pretty tall.
We could be in the water in 2 minutes if we wanted to.
Yeah.
If we ran out the door,
100%.
That's how close we are.
Yeah.
And we walk out this door, and you're literally inside a 4-level gym.
Yep.
That had you covered at every angle, no matter what type of
Functional fitness, bodybuilding, strongman classes.
spin classes,
80 classes
hit
a week?
classes, insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Honestly, the best gym, constantly getting upgraded.
Yeah.
You can come here. If you came in here 6 months ago, you came in today, completely different gym.
Yeah.
Everything gets upgraded, always looking for ways to improve it. The classes get better, the instructors get better, the equipment gets better.
Yeah. You can feel the love here.
Yep, the people are awesome. The girls at the front always have you covered.
Yep.
Couldn't recommend a better place to train.
Definitely.
And couldn't recommend a better location. It has a podcast studio.
Yep.
We literally record, we walk out, we start training.
Yep.
This is
pretty good.
this is the life. Then after training, we
This
walk
is
down, we're at the beach.
Yeah, this
Can
is
you think of a
cold
better
fun.
place to work, man?
Sauna upstairs as
Yep,
well. Not many
exactly.
places have a sauna.
Yep.
Ah,
If you want to
Sauna.
start, a lot of people are scared of starting a podcast. Again, that I haven't got the equipment. Haven't
Just
got,
rent it out.
Yep, I don't
You
know
don't
how to
need
make
to.
the edits.
Yeah.
Rent it out. We look after everything for you. We record it. You get an audio version, video version. We can do all the shorts.
All taken care of.
Yep. Or it gets sent to your inbox. You literally, you come in, you sit down, you do your pod, and everything
you go.
else gets sent to your inbox within a week, and you can start posting away.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's the best.
All you have to do is hit us up. Just hit us with a DM.
Yeah, slide in.